Hello and welcome to this week's episode of For the Love of Chiropractic. I'm your host, Dr. Robert Frieman. If you're new to the show, I say welcome. Glad you tuned in. If you're one of our long-term listeners, you know that here in Season 3, we're doing a series of shows called Resources for Your Success. And on today's show, I have a very special guest that I get to interview because one of the resources that we have as a practicing chiropractor are the next generation of chiropractors. Because they are our future, we have an opportunity to work with them, to train them, teach them what we've learned to help them become successful, help our practices while we're working with them as we pass the chiropractic torch at some point on to this future generation. But in order to do all of that, we need an insight into what are they thinking? What do they believe? What do they see as possible or what is impossible in their viewpoint? So on this episode, I have the opportunity to speak with a young doctor who at the time of this recording was about to graduate, to hear her hopes, her dreams, her aspirations, and her thoughts about the chiropractic profession. I recently had the opportunity to catch up with an amazing chiropractic student. Well, by the time this airs, she will actually have graduated and be a full-fledged doctor of chiropractic. But as we record this, she is finishing her preceptorship and about to cross the stage. And here's who this amazing lady is.
Hi, everybody. My name is the soon-to-be Dr. Emily Frieman. I am going to be graduating from Palmer, Florida, so the Palmer College of Chiropractic Florida campus in just a few short days, which is super exciting. I started out at St. Mary's College of Maryland, majoring in biology and biochemistry. And while I was at St. Mary's, I was a 4-year member of the women's varsity crew team. I had the opportunity to be captain of that team for 2 full years and lead my team to the NCAA championships, which was super exciting. And I'm very proud to be a member of that team and an alumni of that campus overall. At Palmer, I was president of the Campus Guides group for 2 full years as well, and was able to lead and guide students that were currently students in becoming great tour guides, as well as give tours to prospective students and families for my entire time as a Palmer student, which is something that I fully enjoyed. And I am very excited to graduate this coming Friday, summa cum laude, as part of my graduating class.
Welcome to Season 3 of For the Love of Chiropractic. Season 1 has 60 episodes of practice management tips to help you build the best practice possible. Season 2, 3 keys of my success, 50 interviews with the most successful chiropractors from around the world. Season 3, resources for your success. So let's listen up and learn how to build a great business. So I had the opportunity to catch up with the now Dr. Emily Frieman by phone. Emily, are you there?
Yes, hello.
So good to be chatting with you. I know we saw each other briefly in the office this morning, but let's back up. So I know you said in the intro that you went to Palmer.
Yes.
And you went to the Palmer, Florida campus.
Yes.
Why there?
Well, Palmer itself is very well known. D.D. Palmer is the founding father of chiropractic, and I knew I wanted to go to Palmer. And when we went to go visit the Palmer, Florida campus, there were palm trees on campus, and there was honestly the smaller class sizes there, and just everything about that campus itself was absolutely beautiful. The new technology and the beautiful technique rooms, board pass rates, just everything felt perfect. And I didn't feel the need to visit snowy and cold Iowa, frankly. But, we visited the Palmer, Florida campus, and it felt exactly like where I needed to be.
That's awesome. Now let's back up a little bit. So tell me a little bit about your path to becoming a chiropractor, because there was a long time that you said you had no interest in being a chiropractor.
That's correct. Growing up with a father as a very successful chiropractor, I kind of put it on the back burner, something that was his thing. I don't want it to be mine. I knew I wanted to be a doctor. I said that since I was a little kid. Entering college, I decided pre-med was definitely for me. So I was on the pre-med track all the way through until my senior year. I studied for the MCAT. I sat for the MCAT. I had my heart set. I was determined. And then I really had to take a step back and think about what I wanted my life to look like. I was in a very serious relationship. I'm now engaged to that wonderful man. And I knew I want to be a very present wife, future mother, daughter, sibling, friend. And I looked at what the 8+ years of, medical school training, et cetera, was going to look like. And I decided that is not exactly what I want my life to look like when I'm in my 20s. I wanted to become a doctor, and I figured out I just need to shadow different kinds of doctors. So then I remember I took a full day and I said, I'm actually going to shadow my dad in his chiropractic office, not just hang out in the office, because I'd been there every day, like a lot when I was a little kid, but I hadn't really shadowed as a potential doctor exploring this as a career path. And I took the day and I saw the amount of lives that were changed, either people's mood, their ability to walk better after their adjustment, how many people said they were just feeling great, so thankful that they were there, happy to be seen every single day. And I saw how happy everyone was and how happy and present my dad was all throughout life, being able to be such a present and wonderful dad. And I really sat back and thought about it, and I'm going to be a doctor in 5 days. I am helping people every single day with a natural method, with my hands. I love working with my hands, and I am so happy with the career choice that I've chosen, and I will never, ever turn back, and I'm so happy.
Oh, that obviously makes me very, very proud, and I couldn't be happier about the career path that you have chosen for yourself, because I think it's a great choice for you. So, but I want to really dig in now to your school experience. So obviously there's classroom work, and then there's clinical work, and then the things after the clinical. So, but let's pick up at the clinical part. Do you feel that the classroom work that you had prepared you for your clinic situation?
Absolutely. Going through school, we start with palpation in quarter one, so we're sitting in the classroom all day, every day, learning anatomy, physiology, pathology, you name it. And then twice a week we had palpation class, where we're actually learning where and how to identify different segments, identify subluxations, how to identify them and things. And then we eventually worked into doing adjustment setups as we progressed through the first year. And then the second year of school, when we start actually adjusting. Palmer does this program called Technique Open Adjustment Lab. We call it TOL for short, where you actually get to adjust students on campus after school. You can adjust up to 3 students a day. Like, you make kind of appointments for, younger students, older students, whoever you want and can bring in as a patient. And everything is supervised in TOL. So it's a safe practice environment. So I decided to take full advantage of that practice opportunity. And my goal was to have at least 2 people lined up every single day for TOL. I wanted to get as much practice as I could, as much, hands-on experience as I could with the adjusting side before entering the clinic. So Palmer also teaches pretty much every technique. So we learn activator and full activator protocol, Thompson drop, toggle, Gonstead style, diversified, and then they also have a full active and passive care program. So you can implement anything that you learn in the classroom through your technique classes into TOL and then any of that into your clinic experience. So once you get over to the actual Palmer clinic, you are supervised under a faculty clinician, and you're in a group of, my class had 5 students under each clinician, just kind of depends on your class size. And then you're actually able to implement any technique, as much active, passive care as you want once you get over to clinic. So that's your time to find, what techniques work for you, what you want your patient care experience to look like, which was awesome, which it was really, really cool. The documentation piece in clinic, since I've gone through the program, they've transitioned it. So the students behind me have gotten some electronic health record exposure before they actually enter clinic. But my class did not, but that's okay. So when we got to clinic, we had to learn the entire, electronic health record system and how to document everything, which that was honestly the most difficult part, because we know how to adjust at that point. It was just learning all of the procedures that we hadn't been exposed to yet.
So do you feel like the classroom learning that you had prepared you for your clinic experience?
I think it did, definitely. Like all of the adjusting stuff, absolutely yes. The documentation, not 100%, because we didn't have exposure to that electronic health record system on the academic side. That is something that has since changed at Palmer, though, which is great.
All right. So other than the record keeping part, you feel like you were well prepared?
I feel like I was very prepared for the clinic piece.
Right.
Yes.
So now you go through clinic, and I know you did the quarter system, and Palmer is now on the trimester system. Mm-hmm. So how many of those quarters were you in clinic?
It was 9 was part-time, and then 10, 11, and 12. So fully 1 year, but one of them was part-time, but we'll call it a year.
Yeah, so it was a year there. And then the final one, I understand that actually you have a choice. You can do a preceptorship and leave school, or you could stay.
Correct.
So what percentage of students decide to stay on campus and finish their training on campus at Palmer, Florida?
About 1%.
So everybody's ready to go somewhere else, is what I hear you saying.
Everyone's ready to go somewhere else. Everybody pretty much goes somewhere else unless it falls through extremely last minute. They are missing some sort of requirement. Or I know that there are some international students that were in my class that decided to stay because all of the, insurance, documentation, billing that applies in the U.S. does not apply to where they're going to be practicing. So they decided to stay also. But pretty much everyone leaves and goes out into a real office to do their preceptor.
All right. So what I'd like to hear you talk about for a few minutes and discuss is the skills and things that you were doing in clinic on campus, and then we'll transition to what you saw and learned, quote unquote, in the real world as you did a preceptorship in a quote real office.
Yeah. So at clinic, my day-to-day was a lot of, yes, it was very highly supervised. Obviously, I was a student, just getting started in the clinical world. So a lot of it was teaching me how to think like a doctor. We went from the multiple choice world of school on the academic side to the fill in the blank world of clinic and of, being a real doctor. So that transition of thinking was really big. My faculty clinician, Dr. Ferranti, was fantastic at helping us try and think that way. Anytime we had a new patient or we were doing any sort of re-examination with our patient, she had different stopping points that we had to come and check in with her, talk to her about what we're thinking about we had to give 3 differential diagnoses for what might be going on. And then we had to give different treatment options for the patient that based on our differential diagnoses, are we going to take imaging and why? So the whole thinking process was something that was huge in clinic that we really had to transition to. And by the time we were ready to leave for preceptor, it was almost second nature. A multiple choice world was not even necessary at that point, which is great.
I love it. So you transitioned from clinic into the preceptorship. So tell me about your experience as a preceptor.
Yeah. So as a preceptor, it was a 9-week full program. So my first week, I was doing a lot of shadowing and starting to learn the patient's names, learning the different procedures that go on in the office, learning the patient flow. So when they come in as a new patient, what that experience looks like, what day 1 fully is, what day 2 looks like, and then what their, full treatment looks like after that, and kind of following them through their care plan. As a preceptor, in the second kind of phase, I would call it, I started by adjusting each member of the chiropractic office team. And then I was given clearance to actually adjust the patients in the office, which was a huge win for me. It was really awesome. So we started with being, highly supervised with adjusting patients and, being introduced as the soon-to-be Dr. Emily Frieman, and I'm a preceptor, explaining that to each patient. So getting to treat the actual patients, learning the, history-taking skills that were the standard for this practice, learning the exam flow and procedures. I was taking x-rays of a lot of the new patients, which was really great. A lot of exposure, no pun intended, with that, which is great. And then learning how to do a report of findings was one of the most challenging pieces of my preceptor, but it is one of the most important skills that I am continuing to practice, and that I will, something that I'm going to implement and use every single day in practice too. So through my preceptor, I got to adjust the patients, go through their entire procedures and step-by-step processes with them, learning how to do the documentation of up to standard, learning how to do the front desk, learning how to do this job of a CA. I basically got to do every single position in the office, which it was a lot, but I loved every single minute of it. It was a ton of fun, and I'm excited to, do it for real.
So now, speaking of doing it for real, so can you take a minute and compare and contrast what you were doing in clinic towards the end of your clinical experience compared to the end of your preceptor experience?
Oh my gosh. I feel like it has been so different, where in clinic, I feel a lot of it was treating the patients and checking in with your doctor, but a lot of preceptor and what real world is going to be and is you realizing how much of a role you play in people's lives and keeping up with them about, their daily life as well. In clinic, you see patients, maybe I see someone once a week, and that's very frequent for the clinic at school. But in real practice and during my preceptor, there were some people that I was seeing 3 times a week. And so I was literally involved in a huge part of their lives. So I think that was the biggest transition for me, where someone was maybe coming into the Palmer clinic and I wasn't, super involved. But now I feel like we're a huge part of people's lives. I didn't realize how much of that was true.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. So having done that, and sometimes people say, well, I don't even know what I don't know. What do you feel you still have to learn? What's the next thing?
I feel like really continuing to learn how to educate your patients about different pieces of chiropractic is just so important. People come in and we do their exam. We teach them about what chiropractic is. We show them, their x-rays, do a full report of findings with them, explain what their care plan is going to be. But there's so much more to chiropractic than showing the patient, where they're subluxated and how a subluxation can be fixed with adjustments. Teaching patients about pediatric care and even being adjusted while going through pregnancy, sinus issues, extremities. Some people don't even know that. So just learning how to sprinkle in all that education as I'm seeing people is something that I really want to keep working on. I also want to continue to learn and master new patient marketing through Preceptor. And I forgot to say this earlier, I had the privilege and availability to work doing, in-person marketing events. So we did spinal screening events, setting up a machine at a couple of gyms, and we did one at an elementary school, and just interacting with people, doing a screening, giving a little tidbit about chiropractic, and then encouraging them to sign up for a new patient appointment, and empowering them about how they can kind of take control of their health. And that was just a great opportunity, and it was great. And I'm excited to continue to work on that, because I know the new patient marketing aspect is something I'm going to have to master moving forwards. So that's something I definitely want to work on.
All right. So time is starting to get away from us. And I just have a couple more things I have to ask you. Mm-hmm. Where do you see the chiropractic profession going over the next, 5, 10, 20, 30 years? Because I know it's radically different than when I graduated 35 years ago, and I'm thrilled with the acceptance and where we are currently. But, where do you see it going? Where do you hope it'll go?
I hope that people will go to their chiropractors and seek care for every aspect of their health and well-being. While we don't prescribe medications, there's a time and a place for medicine, but I hope that the majority of the world has a chiropractor. And I hope that the majority of the world and population goes to their chiropractor first when they have an issue, rather than, seeking alternative care with more invasive approaches.
I love that.
Hope that I want the chiropractic education point to be even more broad while you're in school, because there are so many diplomates that you can receive while you're either in school or after school. So it's almost like a master's or a specialty. But I feel that while we're in school, we should have even more of a focus on these different fields. So nutrition, counseling, and functional medicine stuff. We can dive into that in chiropractic school too, so that as soon as we get out of school, we are a full wealth of knowledge for anybody walking in. That's what I hope.
That's awesome. I love that. I had a similar conversation with the president of my chiropractic school when I was about where you are. And, what he said to me was, chiropractic schools should work to have an education as broad as possible, so the doctor can then choose to practice as broad or as narrow as they want. Mm-hmm. And of course, the flip side is, there is only so many hours in the day and so many classes that can be sat through, whether it's in a trimester or a quarter. And, to take someone who knows nothing about being a doctor and turning them into thinking, acting, and working like a doctor in 3.5 years is a pretty amazing process.
It is, absolutely.
So I have one final question for you. So as you're about to graduate, and as I said, by the time this goes live, you will be Dr. Emily Frieman, but you're currently the soon-to-be Dr. Emily Frieman. What are your plans after you graduate? What's next?
Yeah, so I have accepted a position at the practice that I did my preceptor in, to be an associate doctor, which is super exciting. First a job right out of school, which is great. It's all I could hope for. As an associate doctor at this practice, I have also been enrolled in something called the Associate Empowerment Program. And this is through a really successful practice management company that the practice that I am going to be working for does train and follow all of their procedures under. So I'm super excited to learn how to be not only a better doctor, but also how to be a really, really successful associate. So I'm hoping that through this associate empowerment program, I'm learning basically how to run my own mini, practice and patient base within a larger practice. From there, long-term goals are to take everything that I have learned, and I do know that I want to open and own my own practice someday. I know, of course, there are still skills that I need to learn in order to be successful to do that. So I'm super excited to work as an associate doctor to learn and master all of those things before I take the world on myself.
I love that. And let's give a proper shout out. That associate empowerment program is through a company called 5-Star Management, owned, operated, and run by Dr. Noel Lloyd and Dr. George Birnbach, two of my dear friends and mentors. And I think it's a wonderful program as well. So I will say, Dr. Emily Frieman, thank you so much for taking the time, making the time, sharing your knowledge, wisdom, and experience of becoming a chiropractor and what that looks like in today's world of 2025.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I hope that this episode reaches any and all, chiropractic students that might be nervous about preceptor, worried about what might be next. Just know that everything's going to be fine. And I'm always here as a reference if anyone ever needs me. It's also cool if there are any listeners that are in the chiropractic world that might have been in practice for a long time, getting the point of view from somebody who's graduating chiropractic school in this day and age, what they might have learned, what their, preceptor experience might look like, and what's next for me. So thank you so much again.
Em, thank you, and I love you.
Love you too.
All right, bye-bye.
Bye.
All right, and that's our show for today. If you have a question about today's show or your own practice, feel free to reach out at fortheloveofchiropractic.com. Before making changes to your practice, be sure to seek legal advice regarding those changes and regulations in your state. For the Love of Chiropractic is an RGF production, all rights reserved. And thanks for listening. Original music provided by Hunter Rich Music.